course, we've been covering the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial, now day 6. And Cassie Ventura's mom took the stand today to back up her daughter's stories of physical abuse. Regina Ventura testifying her daughter was, quote, beaten by Sean Combs. She was bruised, and I wanted to make sure that we memorialized it. Regina Ventura is referring to photos that she took of Cassie in late 2011, making a record of the alleged beatings. Those photos were shown in court today. Those allegations also corroborated this week by the former Danity Kane member, Don Richard, one of the several music industry witnesses that we've seen called to testify. Richard telling the court that Diddy beat Cassie, quote, frequently, and that he would punch her, choke her, drag her, slap her in the mouth. I saw him kick her, punch her in the stomach. Her testimony and others raising a lot of questions about what was known in the industry. We'll get to that. Let's first bring Misty Marris in, the trial attorney who's here with us at our New York studio, because Misty just made it up here to Midtown Manhattan after being in Lower Manhattan in court today. You were in the room for the mom's testimony. What was it like?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really emotional, Connell. So it was pretty much the star of the show today, and for several reasons. Of course, it was emotional testimony. She testified that until 2011, she did not know that there was an abusive relationship between Cassie and Diddy. And she found out when Cassie actually sent her an email. And in the email, Cassie said that he was threatening to expose 2 explicit videos, that he was going to release them, and that he was also going to send somebody to physically beat her and Kid Cudi up, because he had found out that she was actually in a relationship with him. So from the legal perspective, this was a huge moment, because this goes back to 2011. And remember, the question is consent versus coercion. So I would expect prosecutors to use that, a memorialized, documented account by Cassie in 2011, to say everything after that, she was under his thumb. She was afraid of what could happen. And then, you mentioned the pictures that were taken. This was taken on Christmas Eve, according to her mother, where there were bruises, and she was handed a large black binder, and she was asked by prosecutors to go through each photograph, which she said she took in order to memorialize the abuse that had occurred, and she could not hold back tears, Connell. It was a very emotional moment in court as she went through all of those photographs and recounted feeling, what she said, sick to her stomach, seeing that email, feeling physically ill, looking at those photographs and hearing about the abuse that Cassie had.
You can see why as we look at those photographs now. So the okay, and we can see where a lot of the emotion in this case comes from, and we know now that it's been established, I would think in a lot of people's minds, that this guy did a lot of bad things, or is alleged to have, right? I always keep asking the same question. You and I think, talked about it the other day. How are they doing, they being the prosecution, on establishing that the crimes that are alleged were committed?
Well, so as far as sex trafficking, that's engaging in commercial sex through force, fraud, or coercion. And so that's what we were speaking about with Cassie's mother. She was a great witness for the prosecution on that front. As far as RICO, there was another witness that testified today, David James. This was his assistant for a couple of years. Prosecutors before court had said, this is going to be somebody who's going to talk about the means and methods of the criminal organization. Remember, he's facing racketeering conspiracy charges. And I'll tell you, that fell flat, Connell. In fact, that testimony was a lot better for the defense. They were able to, on cross-examination, really separate some of what are the underlying crimes. It's drug trafficking, it's prostitution. Separate that from Diddy himself and say that there were independent bad actors. So that testimony, to me, I don't think we've got RICO yet. There's more witnesses to come, but that has not gelled from the prosecution.
That's interesting.
Their burden of...
I think that's interesting. I'll make that the final point. So the idea was that his business, his record label and his business that he was operating, was a criminal enterprise in and of itself, the racketeering, right? And if someone would know, it would probably be his personal assistant.
Right, and we expect to see more people in his sphere. We know the cast of characters, their security guards, all of these other people who were involved and were working in furtherance of the criminal enterprise, which requires showing some of those underlying crimes. That just simply hasn't come to light yet. And we also heard from the Punisher today. He was an exotic dancer. His testimony, he said he never crossed state lines. That's big. Remember, there's trafficking to engage in prostitution, crossing state lines, and also that Cassie seemed to consent to what happened in that room. So big day in court.
Dancer or male escort, right? And his nickname's the Punisher. Okay, so that's what you're dealing with. But you were there in court. All right, Misty, thank you. Misty Marris.